Hello everyone, Andy here, and in this video we're going to talk about something big happening in the New York City radio landscape. It was reported by New York Post sports beat reporter Andrew Marchland back on Tuesday the 19th that ESPN New York 98.7 FM, WEPN FM, WEPN HD1 is going to be ditching its 98.7 signal and will strictly now go back to AM 1050 beginning in September of next year. So I don't know why I cannot pause this video. That's very weird. So anyhow, I'll just read the article here. So it says here that the sports radio wars for New York City, as we know it, will end in August of next year and going into September. So I have the exact date that I'm going to read from my phone right here. So it's August 31st of 2024. So you're looking at a Saturday, which is very interesting. So it says here that Saturday, August 31st, 2024, the 98.7 signal will be relinquished and will be focusing on digital distribution, and we'll be going back to AM 1050 for its top programming. So obviously we know Michael Kay, radio play-by-play voice of the New York Yankees, has his own talk show with Don LaGreca, Peter Rosenberg. So that will be the main thing. And of course, we know ESPN New York for play-by-play coverage of the New York Jets, New York Knicks, and the New York Ranger games. Now, currently, we know that AM 1050 currently airs the national feed of ESPN Radio. So this decision was made by Good Karma Brands. It is a reflection of the changing business that has valued the need for an expensive FM signal. That will officially mean that WFAN, with its signals on 101.9 FM and 660 AM, will have a clear advantage for marquee ratings. And of course, back in the heyday, we know the battle between Mike Francesa and Michael Kay. So, Good Karma Brand CEO and founder Craig Sermon told the New York Post, "We are committed to serving the New York sports fan, and with the combination of our AM signal, ESPN New York app, podcasts, smart speakers, yes, and other additional audio and video distribution, investing in an FM signal was not relevant the way it was back in the 2010s. So, there we go. That's Good Karma basically making this decision. So, a little history here. We know that the ESPN 98.7 signal signed on the air back in 2012 when they took over KISS 98.7 FM, WRKS FM, which was R&B. So this is what we know right now. ESPN was only on AM 1050, which was the original signal for WFAN, created and owned by Emmett's broadcasting Jeff Smolin. The lease rate is currently in the 12.5 million per range. So this is what we know right now. Emmett's can either sell or lease the signal to someone else. So basically, Emmett's Broadcasting can either keep the station, can change it to it. They can own the station still, what I'm trying to say here. They can still own the station technically, find a new format, and or just sell it. Sell it and let somebody else take control of it. Alright, so here we go. Good Karma data shows that 60% of ESPN New York's listenership is outside of radio, and the 40% who rely on the radio, 8 out of 10, are expected to find the station on AM 1050. So we definitely know that Michael Kay, the New York Jets, the New York Knicks, and the New York Rangers have been all informed of this decision. So this is very interesting here. Jets could look to shop their rights to Odyssey or iHeart stations with FM signals. That's very interesting. So the Knicks and the Rangers kind of had a feeling this was going to happen. All right, here we go. ESPN New York could possibly have advertising business growing. So I guess now we'll get into what the current situation is with the transmitter here. So we're now going to go to the FM and the AM side of things. First, let's go to the FM side. Now, FM, you're working with 60,000 watts. All right. AM, you're working with about 50,000 watts. Now, there's only one tower that's currently from the Empire State Building. And in terms of the AM signal, you're looking at three towers that are currently in New Jersey. So, I don't know. Let's look at some coverage maps here. Let's see here. Yeah, you're looking at a decent range where the signal can go out to Suffolk in one sense. It's pretty much the same station coverage range when you think about it. And this is their nighttime map. Now, in the past, when I used to listen to the MLB playoffs on 1050, the signal was okay. And, the reason why I was thrilled with AM 1050 was for one reason. Back in the day, listening to traffic on 1010, and then you go right to baseball, listening to the other MLB postseason games on AM 1050. So in 2024, that will be very interesting, to say the least, when you want to stick on AM and go between 1010 for traffic reports and then go right back to Major League Baseball playoffs. All right. So now let's talk about what could take over this frequency. And I'm going to come up with one option here right now. That's right. Odyssey could purchase the station and rebrand it to New York Country 98.7. They could just get rid of the, let me center this for you guys. Get rid of the 4 and then put 8. But then what could WXBK do with HD2? Maybe it just stays as one station. We'll have to wait and see with 94.7 the block. But in this sense, it makes a lot of sense to do country. And for one reason, and one reason only. You can thank one particular country artist for making country music relevant again. Morgan Wallen. The same guy who constantly has the hit song Last Night being played on all of the pop stations, including C100. Who says country music is not dead in New York? So Odyssey could potentially take advantage of this situation. Now, I'm going to come up with a couple other theories that could make sense here. And I'm going to come up with at least 3 more. Second theory, and I've been thinking about this a lot, given that this is the #1 rated AM talk station in all of New York City, behind AM 970 The Answer with the lowest ratings, and then WOR, which has a bit more syndication outside of their morning programs with what they have going on from 6 a.m. to noon. So this makes a lot of sense, but I think Red Apple Media Group, owned by John Catsimatidis, could potentially pick up the signal beginning in September of 2024 and simulcast 77 WABC on 98.7 FM. Now, why would this move make a lot of sense? Well, if you take over the signal in September of next year, you're going to have a lot of local programming based on the upcoming 2024 elections. Since technically this station does talk about politics a lot, but it makes sense. Also, the fact that on Saturday nights you have music, Saturday and Sundays, forgot about Sinatra on Sundays. So you have the Saturday night music programs, the Sunday night music programs, and it could make a lot of sense for WABC to simulcast on 98.7. Since they already have a simulcast in the Hamptons on 107.1, this would make a lot of sense for WABC to consider this move. The third station possibility, and I want to thank Elias Feaster for this picture from a thumbnail he posted a while back of a classic air check. The revitalization of KISS 98.7 FM. And why am I going with this theory? And why do I think this makes a lot of sense here? Well, I'm going to come up with a station that I know very well in Salisbury, Maryland. Yes. So, Delmarva's best R&B. Yep. The revitalization of KISS 98.7 could be similar to what iHeartRadio has in Delmarva. So, I'm going with a theory, and given that maybe it could make sense to bring back the R&B wars of New York, where WBLS is on 107.5, KISS FM comes back to 98.7. This could make a lot more sense here. And I forgot, I had another station I wanted to mention. I was thinking of another popular music format, but I'll get to that in a second. I also just thought of this now, but Odyssey could also look into purchasing 98.7 FM and possibly simulcasting News Radio 880. And you may be wondering, why would they consider doing this? Well, look what's on 92.3 FM right now. Yep. All news, all the time on 92.3 FM. So WCBS 880 considers purchasing 98.7 FM and simulcast WCBS News Radio, and the New York Mets would love that, because then in 2024, the later part of 2024, let's say, if the Mets somehow are still in the postseason hunt, Steve Cohen would certainly have a big smile on his face. And lastly, let's get into the other theory that I've been coming up with based on the popularity of this station. Isla 106. Dance music. Yep. Could the owners of this station in Europe consider bringing this format to New York City? I would not rule that out. Now keep this in mind, they're not iHeartRadio, they're not Odyssey, so that might make things a little bit more complicated here. Okay, so there you have it. That's the situation going on with ESPN New York 98.7. It certainly had a decent run, and I'm certainly going to make the most out of it this season with the New York Knicks on 98.7. So, you guys can comment what you think could take over this station beginning in September of 2024. Do you agree with me on what the possible format change could be? Let's have a discussion in the comments. So thank you very much for watching this video, and until the next one, please take care.